friends are since.
For today's video, I'm going to be taking a wee look at the Simgot EA500s, which are a set of in-ear monitors that you can currently purchase for something like $79 US. Now, these were sent to me by a company called Linsoul, who had watched my other wonderful headphone review videos and reached out to ask if I'd be interested in trying these out for myself. Now, this was quite fortuitous, because even though my general preference for listening to music is to use big, over-ear, usually open back, very comfortable headphones, I've also for a long time had an interest and a fascination with in-ear monitors because they do have their own set of unique, interesting features. It kind of changes the way you experience listening to music, and also a few years ago I was specifically looking at these for use with my band because as a singer we would often turn up to venues and they would have shit PAs where I couldn't hear what I was actually singing, and I would blow out my voice and everyone would think I was a terrible singer, or at least a more terrible singer than I actually am because my voice was fucked. Now, if you aren't familiar with in-ear monitors or what the difference is between them and regular earbuds, then you're not alone, because I didn't really understand if there was a technical definition there. And I went and looked it up, and basically the only real difference is that in-ear monitors sit in your ear canal, whereas earbuds or earphones are designed to sit on the outside of your ear, and that obviously changes the kind of aural experience, as it were. The benefits of this design are that you get a better seal in your ears so that it kind of rejects sound from the outside, and it also gives you this more perceived, or a greater perception, I guess I should say, of loudness without having to crank things up, which means that you can get a lot more juice out of them. In general, I found that in-ear monitors tend to be a step up from regular earbuds. I rarely, if ever, use earbuds, but I would use in-ear monitors, and historically that has meant that in-ear monitors have been much more expensive. They were really aimed at the professional end of the market for singers or musicians, and not so much for people that were listening to music or travelling about. And now there seems to be more affordable options, which is really quite exciting. The EA500 seem to sit in that sweet spot, which is really difficult to say actually, where they are affordable enough for regular people to have access to them, but also high quality enough that they aren't just going to sound like trebly shit in your ears, which many of these do. Before we're going to look at the IEMs themselves, let's take a quick look at the box and what is included with them. I have to say that when they arrived, I was kind of surprised at how nicely they were packaged. They were presented in a way that showed that some thought had gone into it, and it didn't feel like you're buying some really cheap, crappy product, which, you know, I mean, you're not, so that's good. Within the box, you get the IEMs themselves. You get a detachable cable, which has got the 2-pin connector on each side. It goes to a 3.5mm standard mini jack connection. You get 3 different sets of silicone ear tips, small, medium and large, depending on the size of the holes in your lugs. You also get quite a nice pill-shaped carrying case, which means that you can chuck them in there, throw them in your bag and not worry about them getting all tangled up and lost. Now finally, and perhaps most interestingly, you get 2 different sets of nozzles in there, a red set and a black set. The red set are the default ones, and the black set have got a slightly different tuning, which is apparently meant to be a bit more treble forward, have a bit more clarity and detail, and this allows you to change them out depending on your particular preference or use case, which is actually kind of fascinating. Oh, I should mention as well, there is also a bag of O-rings that allows you to replace the red and black ones if they wear out, and I don't know when they would wear out or how this would happen, but you get quite a lot of them, so I guess you're set there for life. The IEMs themselves have got quite a weight to them. They don't have that kind of hollow, crappy, plasticky feel that you get with a lot of budget in-ear monitors that are out in the market. And they've also got this nice mirrored metal look that, yes, you might smudge it with your fingers or whatever, but in general it looks pretty cool as well. When it comes to the cable, it's a decent enough length. I'm not entirely sure how long it is, but it isn't too long, it isn't too short, it kind of just does the job. It is this kind of multi-core, multi-stranded thing, which I think can look and seem a bit weird if you're not used to that. And to be honest, I thought at first that it was going to get tangled really easily or be a pain in the arse to kind of use. However, in practice, it doesn't get tangled at all. It does the job, and you get this wee Y splitter thing that lets you kind of shorten or lengthen the bit towards your ears as you desire. When it comes to the ear side of the cable, there is a rubberized coating around it, which allows you to shape it to your ears and keep them nice and secure and stable. The sensitivity of these IEMs are 16 ohms at 123 decibels or 124 decibels depending on the nozzle that you're using, and that means that they are incredibly easy to drive. You can use these with your mobile phone or your MP3 player or whatever. You don't need a special amp or anything like that to give them the juice they need to operate. So now we come on to the sonic portion of the video, and this is where I have to give you my usual caveat, which is that everything that I'm about to say is based purely and solely on my own subjective, very personal experience. And if you're looking for a more detailed, technical, objective review, then you'd be as well going and downloading the frequency graphs for yourself, because that is not what I'm going to be doing. Instead, I'm just going to tell you how I have found these to be. Before I go on to talk about the specifics of these particular in-ear monitors, it is worth noting that if you've never used IEMs before, they do have quite a different listening experience to other sets of headphones or earphones. For me, the sound feels as if it's been generated from within my head as opposed to being transmitted in from the outside. And I guess that's because in some ways that is what's happening. The in-ear monitors sit in your ear canal as opposed to on top of or over your ears. Now this can be quite a strange sensation if you've never experienced it before. It's something that takes a wee bit of time to get used to, but once you do, you'll probably see and feel and hear, I guess, the beauty of that. But if you don't like it, then you're going to hate any in-ear monitor, no matter how good they sound. So that's a general thing to be aware of. Now, overall, my impression of the sound of these EA500s is that they are very forward in the treble and upper mid area without being too harsh. So in particular, pianos, snare drums, hi-hats, vocals, any kind of acoustic instrument sound particularly good with these and stand out. On the other hand, the bass side of things, like many in-ear monitors, there is bass present, especially in the upper kind of bass region, but there isn't a whole lot of sub-bass. You're not going to get the kind of thump or the grumble and roar that you might like if you're interested in electronica or hip-hop or anything like that. But instead, you get quite a lot of clarity. So everything in that kind of upper mid and treble region sounds great, and also doesn't sound too harsh, because I'm somebody that's quite sensitive to too much treble, but these manage to give you that kind of clarity and detail without, you know, distorting or sounding too harsh on the sibilants, which is very nice indeed. I have to say that when I first started listening to them, I was really pleasantly, genuinely surprised at how much separation there is between different elements. I was hearing instrumentation in ways that I hadn't really noticed before on songs that I'm very accustomed with, and it was quite a different and refreshing way to listen to some of my favourite music. Now, if like me, you enjoy listening to music with a lot of bass, the appeal of these might not immediately be all that obvious. However, we do have to remember that the original purpose of in-ear monitors wasn't to replicate slamming 90s dance music with any kind of atmospheric intensity. Instead, it was to allow musicians to better hear themselves when they were playing live, when they were recording, or whether they were rehearsing or whatever else. I mean, that's why they're called in-ear monitors. It's to allow you to monitor what's going on, not necessarily sit in aural bliss. For that reason, if you're somebody that's looking for an affordable yet quality set of in-ear monitors so that you can hear your vocals better in a live environment, these would be particularly well suited for that, because it allows your vocals to cut through with the particular tuning of the nozzles and give you that clarity and detail that you want, instead of everything becoming a kind of bassy mess in that environment. With all of that said, these are not just suitable for musicians that are looking for a live monitoring setup. The particular way that they're tuned means that they will really shine with certain types of music, particularly that where you want to hear individual elements really clearly. So anything that's got natural instrumentation in there, like pianos, harps, softer vocal performances, jazz perhaps, classical, anything like that will sound really fantastic with them. Whereas if you're more into electronica, hip-hop, dub or anything like that, then obviously you're going to miss the bass with them. Overall, I have to say that I've been fairly pleased and impressed with the EA500s, both in terms of how good they sound for their intended purpose, but also the build quality. They don't feel cheap or nasty, they do feel like a decent premium product. The thing I'm most impressed by though is their relative value and affordability. At $79 US, they're a wee bit more expensive than some of the cheaper ones that are out there in the market, but they blow all of them out of the water, at least all of the ones I've tried anyway. If you're looking for an affordable in-ear monitor solution, whether that's because you're a musician that wants to hear your vocals better, or whether you just want to listen to music in a different way, these are definitely worth taking a look at. I'm enjoying the experience, and maybe it doesn't hurt to get out of my bass-heavy world every so often. For now, I'm away to watch The Last of Us. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.